What is up? It's Andy. Last time you saw me, I was in Croatia less than a month ago, rolling down the side of a mountain in Plitvice Lakes National Park and almost dying. It was pretty serious. But anyways, I'm not in Croatia now. I'm not back in my hometown of Dallas. I am in... Okay, that's not really a good view of anything, but you can kind of see a mountain right there. I am in Anchorage, Alaska. It's my first time ever going to Alaska. I'm here to speak at an event tomorrow for my alma mater, Texas A&M University. That's going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait. But I have a little bit of free time while I'm here, so I thought about going out, trying to see around Anchorage, around the general Anchorage area. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Alright, so if I was better with After Effects, I would put this in like a really cool animation for you, but I'm not. So let me just show you on my computer what I'm planning on doing. So right now I'm in Anchorage, which is here. And then what I want to do, there's Highway 1 that kind of follows this little body of water here. This is called the Turn Again Arm. And apparently you can see whales around here. And if you go all the way over here, there's a town called Portage. And from here you can go over to a town called Whittier. Or you could be me and want to push the boundaries a little bit and see if I could make it all the way to a town here, or somewhere around here. Yeah, there we are. A town called Seward, I think. So those are my options today. I'm basically going to drive to Portage and then decide whether to keep going over to Whittier or drive onward to Seward. Okay, so on the way to Portage and then either Seward or Whittier, I decided to stop by this camera store right there in downtown Anchorage called Stewart's Camera. Phenomenal store, great people, and I decided to rent the Sony 16-35 f2.8 G Master lens. Always wanted to test this out, and I figured this would be a really good place to test it out. Okay, so I was just trying to walk out onto the snow to get just a slightly better viewpoint, and my foot went all the way down like 3 feet into the snow. I think it's God's way of telling me don't do that. I made the decision to drive, instead of going to the Portage Glacier and going to Whittier, I decided to go ahead and go down to Seward. And so I'm just at a rest stop right now with these loud 18-wheelers ruining the tranquility, this beautiful scene. But I wanted to stop and take a picture out that way. I love what the clouds are doing up here right now. And I love how you have kind of the snow and then trees and then the mountain behind it. So I'm gonna get a picture of that. And then I think I'm gonna fly my drone through this valley because all the wind just completely died. All right, drone shots were good. Almost only turned it over from the wind once. Hope you enjoyed that little segment. Now let's get back on the road. Okay, so I found this creek. It's called 6 Mile Creek. It doesn't look that wide across to me. That's like 16 feet, not 6 miles. Oh, it might be. Anyways, what I'm going to try to do, I think this will be a good test for the 16 to 35 G Master lens, because I love how those mountains are showing just a little bit of color. You can see between the snowbanks, it's almost like some lichen or some meadow grass is trying to grow there. So you're seeing a little bit of color, you're seeing pine trees, and we have some nice leading lines into the mountain. Now, I'm not going to get in the middle of the creek because it's 41 degrees, and I didn't bring waterproof equipment because it's me and I'm terribly prepared. But what I want to do is get set up for a shot that uses that leading line. But also the big temptation with wide angle lenses like this is just to go super wide and get everything in the shot. And I think that can lead to some really boring shots. So like if you have a 300mm lens or 200mm lens, it tends to pull the background towards the foreground. Well, a super wide angle lens tends to take things in the foreground and try to push them into the background. So it really helps to have a unifying visual element as a foreground. So I'm going to try to find one of those, and if that doesn't work, I may actually put the tripod in the water right here just to make sure that it's really obvious that my leading line is there. So let's see how this shot turns out. So I think it turned out well. I like how the middle of this kind of dividing line between the creek and the rocks separates everything well. Got some nice color up on the mountains, and we didn't have a real clear unifying foreground object. I was going to try to incorporate this fallen tree somehow, but I just couldn't find a good angle of it. So you have to kind of take what you get. You have to get what the landscape's going to give you, and then move on to the next one. All right, so it's raining a bit outside, so I'm gonna have to make this quick. So I'm not gonna set up the typical me taking the picture shot. But what I love about this shot right here is if we look out, we see the blueness in the water, almost like Torres del Paine in Chile. And that comes from silt running off. So when the snow melts, it takes dirt with it. Dirt is more reflective than the bottom of water, so that's why you get this really cool light blue sort of coloring to it. You can also see there's a pine tree right there. So what I'm going to try to do, if you remember from the last shot from the creek, I want to have a very interesting foreground element. I think that pine tree is going to do it. So let's see how it looks. Okay, what'd you think? Turned out pretty well, right? So what I'm finding out is that this town, I finally made it to Seward or something like that. This town doesn't really open till the tourist season starts, which is, you know, a couple of months from now or next month. So I'm just walking around trying to find a restaurant that's open and grab just a quick bite to eat, fish and chips or some crab or something like that. I'm told the king crab here is wonderful. Actually, I think it is past the place. Okay, so I went to this place called the Thorns Showcase Lounge. Not really what I was expecting, but it seems pretty nice. Okay, so I had lunch and I did get confirmation it's pronounced Seward, and I'm at the point that, I guess this is Resurrection Bay out in front of us, and I'm at this monument which marks the point where John Belaine chose this site and named the town Seward. He was organizer of, well, there's a monument there, but anyways, so yeah, Resurrection Bay Historical Society, cool little monument, phenomenal landscape, and a ton of rain about to come in. So I have my tripod set up here. I'm gonna get 1 or 2 shots, and I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use a neutral density filter because there's a lot of wind, and I really think the clouds could be kind of cool if I streak them out. So I'm gonna use a neutral density filter made by Lee and see if I can get like a 30-second exposure and really flatten out the water and get some good streaks in these clouds. So let's see what we can get. Well, that's a bummer. Right as I got set up for a really nice long exposure shot, the rain freaking annihilated me. It happens. This is Alaska. It's April. Man, that's annoying. I wanted to get that shot. I may try to get it from inside the car. We'll see how that goes, because the rain's blowing this way. So if I can get this way, maybe the wind, open a window. I don't know. Let's see what we can come up with. All right, check that out. So this lake is still frozen. How freaking cool. Now, I don't want to hike down there across the railroad tracks just because I got in trouble last time I hiked in an environment like this. But I bet if I were to get the drone and go up and over these trees, I bet I could get it really close to that ice. Let's see how good of a drone pilot I am. Okay, not the worst drone flying in the world, you have to admit. Plus, it didn't crash into anything that I posted here. I may have edited something out. No, I'm just kidding. What a real, I mean, never seen anything like that. How cool is that? I think that's supposed to say bed and breakfast, but judging by the quality of the establishment, I'm not sure I'd want the bed either. Anyways, I wanted to try to get on that beach to try to take some pictures of that ice lake. So I went down a random road next to another sketchy building, and I think I can cross the railroad tracks here and maybe get down to the beach, take some pictures. I have a feeling my feet are gonna get wet, which means they're gonna get cold, but I think it's gonna be worth it to get to this beach. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. How amazing is this? Okay, so remember what I said about wide angle lenses? You need a really distinctive foreground element. Otherwise you just end up with all background. Like honestly, that shot I just took wasn't the best, it was all background. For the record, I'm not out of breath, I'm freezing cold. You'd think I would pack a heavier jacket, but I'm an idiot. Anyways, okay, so I found a foreground element that's gonna set off so nicely against this backdrop. And here it is. So we have this little driftwood right here. And the way I'm gonna set up the shot, I want this in the foreground, the ice is gonna be the midground, and then this is gonna be the background. So I always wanna end up with a foreground object, middle ground kind of context, and background setting. So this is gonna be absolutely perfect for it, and a great way to test out this 16-35 2.8 G Master from Sony. So let's get this shot. if you could see it in the frame just because I didn't review the footage yet, but I always try to get a high shot, a low shot. I try to get a shot from my original composition. I try to move to the side, get another shot, just to really make sure that I'm exploring all of the options I have available to me. So a lot of times, even though I go in with an idea of how I want a shot to look, I'll just take a couple of seconds and make sure I really maximize the composition. And a completely different shot ends up being my favorite. So that'd be a reminder to you. Okay, so I think that's gonna do it for this trip from Anchorage to Seward back to Anchorage. Playing around with the Sony 16 to 35 2.8 G Master lens. As far as the lens went, it's great, as you would expect from the G Master line. I know I didn't put it through like a complete test of like low light and complete and total sharpness and all that stuff. The one thing I do not like about it is that it does not internally zoom. And in my experience, dust and whatnot gets in there. So the 12 to 24 millimeter lens that you're watching this on, it internally zooms and it's a little bit lighter than this. So even though that's an f4, and it's probably not quite as sharp as this one, I get a little bit more utility from the 12 to 24 and don't really have to worry about ice or dust or anything like that. Not ice, but dust or rain, that's what I meant. But anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing the images from this. I think they're gonna be wonderful and I hope you agree. Let me know your favorite image in the comments. And yeah, aside from that, the real star of the show, aside from the drone piloting, of course, is this amazing part of the United States. This is my first time in Alaska. I came at a not great time. Everything's still kind of dead. It's not quite springtime yet, but man, I cannot even imagine how beautiful it is when the Turnagain Sound, or whatever this is called here, is in, you know, the area around it's in full bloom. All the trees are blooming, flowers are blooming. I literally cannot imagine how beautiful it must be. So anyways, last time you saw me was in Croatia. This time I'm in Alaska. I'm going to Sweden in a few weeks. So you got to stay tuned. You got to subscribe. You never know where I'm going to be next. So until next time, take care. We'll see you in the skies.